Hello, today we're going to be taking a look at the sheet called Ocean Currents that was given to you in class. If you take a look at the top, there is a key. Warm are the dotted lines and cold are the solid lines. Go ahead and color code the warm red and the cold blue. So you have two options. You can either do it in marker to where it looks like this, or you can use pencil color and shade in the currents like this. So this allows you to see where the warm currents are flowing to and from, and where the cold currents are flowing from and to. The other thing I want you to do is label where the British Isles are and where Japan is. This is going to be important in answering a couple of questions. Feel free to pause the video. Once you finish coloring, we're going to be moving on to the questions on the back. So as we go over the questions, feel free to pause the video as needed. Question number 1, in what direction does the California current flow, and is it warm or cold? So if we take a look over here, here's the California current. The California current is a cold current. We have it shaded in blue, and it is flowing from north to south. So it's flowing in the southern direction. Number 2, why is the Labrador current cold? So let's find the Labrador current. Here's the Labrador current. The reason it's cold is because it is coming from the North Pole. The North Pole does not get sunlight directly to heat up its oceans, so the ocean is colder, and that cold water is coming down towards the equator. Number 3, why is the climate in the British Isles and Iceland more moderate or not as cold that you would expect? So let's take a look at the British Isles. Okay, it's, pretty far north, to closer towards the North Pole. So we would expect it to be pretty cold there. The reason why it's not as cold as you would expect it is because it has a warm current passing by it. So if you take a look, the Gulf Stream is near the equator. The equator warms up a lot, and the Gulf Stream carries this warm water up towards the British Isles. Right above the warm water, you also have warm air that's going with the stream. So this warm current is making the British Isles and Iceland a little warmer than you would expect. Number 4, how would the climate of Florida be affected if the Gulf Stream were to reverse direction? All right, so here's Florida over here. Currently, the Gulf Stream is bringing up warm ocean water from the equator. If this were to reverse and come this direction, what would happen? What's going to happen is this cold water from the North Pole is going to start coming down, and it's going to make Florida's climate a little cooler. Number 5, how would California be affected if the California current reversed direction? So let's take a look. The California current is currently coming from the north. It's a cold current. Well, if this reversed and came this way, this warm water from the equator would be coming up the California coast, and California would have a warmer climate than it currently has. So if you've ever been to Florida and California and been in the beach water, you would notice a big difference. Florida is known for having warm ocean waters because of the warm Gulf Stream, and California waters are pretty cool, and that's because they have this cold current bringing down this cold water. Number 6, where do the cold currents originate and why? So let's take a look. Where are all of the blue currents coming from or starting from. If you notice, they start from the north or the South Pole. They start from the pole and move towards the equator. Okay? And the reason why they originate near the poles is because the North and the South Pole gets indirect sunlight and the oceans don't heat up as much there. 7. Where do the warm currents originate and why? So if you take a look, your warm currents are near the middle of the map. They're near the equator. The reason why warm currents originate near the equator is because the equator gets direct sunlight and the ocean water warms up more. Number 8, explain why the debris from the Japan tsunami would end up landing on the California coast. So here's Japan, here's California. When Japan had the tsunami, a lot of debris started landing on the California coast. Why? That's because of this current called the North Pacific Drift. This current picked up a lot of that debris. It came across the ocean and started landing on the California coast. All right, once you have finished with your coloring and you've answered your questions, take a look at Schoology or your ISN to figure out what page this is going on. The title of the page is Currents Map. Fold it in half, put a little piece of tape, and you are done. Good job.